Another old hand?
Another old hand, yes.
I hope you don't mind. I will do a 30-second if I feel that you're not coming to a close. That's why I say it, just to make sure that
The question's in front of you. I'm not going to read out the question.
Please continue.
All I'm going to say is I really don't want to come up here every single month, okay, we're skipping next month, every single month saying we need to have some design standards for the cycleways. The 1307 report came up with 2.4 metres right next to buses doing 56 miles an hour. That is absolutely unacceptable, not even according to the Department for Transport, that admittedly is not the most cycle friendly. Certainly the Minister for Transport doesn't believe that cyclists even should be on the road and regularly doors them. But there is an interesting document from Highways England, which is the Infrastructure Advice Note 195/16, which describes how cycle infrastructure should be done next to major roads, like, for example, the A11. And since the 1307 goes over the A11, we think that this sort of design guide should be used for this sort of project. We'd like it to go further, we'd like it to be more Dutch style rather than Highways England style, but still, that is significantly better than what the consultants have come out with. So fundamentally the question is, what design standards were used and how can we get those moving forward?
Thank you.
Less than 3 minutes.
Okay, it was. Thank you. So if you could just step back, Jim Chisholm, welcome.
I'm afraid I'm even older.
I couldn't say that.
I wasn't even going to say it,
You've had a harder life.
Yeah, it's got a limp as well, it's terrible.
Jim, 3 minutes, please.
How many of the Assembly members and officers have heard of the road network paradox? This, one of a number of similar paradoxes, shows that it's possible to make network improvements that result in worse conditions overall. I have serious reservations about the proposed scheme on 3 fronts. Firstly, the bus services bill, now before Parliament, even today, and the extra powers delegated by the agreed devolution for Cambridge and Peterborough should enable a far more practical and efficient methods of regulating both traffic flow and bus services than were available when these studies started. Secondly, those of us involved in cost-benefit analysis, however minor, know that although we may be able to justify spending a large sum, it's often possible to obtain 80% of the benefits with 20% of the cost. Thirdly, taking this road in isolation without full consideration of the opportunities, pressures of development, congestion and inefficient bus service on adjacent routes seems short-sighted. I live in this area and we clearly need to have a proper systems approach. Constructing a bus lane will have a rapidly diminishing effect the longer it is. Better use of the works causeway option, simple adjustments to lights and white line engineering could easily give buses a 10-minute advantage under congested conditions. And we do need better cycling access, but I'm sure that the options within the Greenways report would provide a far more pleasant route for a wider range of users to a wider range of destinations than on an unlit one that is within a metre of a fast and noisy and polluting A1307. How is it possible to consider the A1307 in isolation, given the close relationship with the A1301 and the respective but not respected bus services? I fear that these mega schemes can be neither secure in terms of benefits nor good value for money and take no account of the changing legislative environment.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now, what I will say to the questioners there is that there's quite a few questions. I'm determined that your questions will be answered by Mr. Hughes. If you do not feel your questions have been answered by Mr. Hughes, please do not shout out. Could you just raise your hand and I will come to you. Okay? Thank you. So, on that basis, Mr. Hughes, welcome. So, could I ask you to introduce the report and answer those questions while you're doing it?
Thank you very much, Chairman. And as you said at the start, I'll try and speak loud and everybody hear me at the back. Do some waves at the back, you can hear me? Am I loud enough? Yep, okay.
You can go further down if you...
No, I'll just say it because I'm
yeah.
I don't have to multitask.
Okay. Can I move here then?
Right, what I was going to do, and I will try and be as brief as possible, but I wanted to run through a few slides just to set the background to how we got to where we've got to, and then to actually talk about the particularly the report in front of you. And as the Chairman said, I will try and pick up questions or the answers to the three sets of questions. I will do my best. I may miss one or two bits, but as the chairman said, do let us know and we'll pick anything up that I don't. I just wanted to touch on, as I say, how we got to where we got to. So the 1307, and it was referred, I think, to as additional park and ride and bus capacity on 1307, was prioritised in tranche 1 in January 2015, and following that there was a series of actions that took place almost immediately. So the transport was undertaken by the consultants. They generated broad ideas, they engaged with consultants and developed what I've referred to as initial scheme concepts, and that was all reported to the board in March 2016. So it's quite a bit of work that was undertaken, and it was reported to the board and the Assembly indeed last year. So the recommendations of the board at that time approved for consultation the illustrative concepts, and I'll talk about those, have a map of that in just a second. Based upon consultation responses that came out of that process, to then do some further technical work and report back again to the Assembly and board. And so that point is where we're at now. So that's what the board in 2016 March agreed to do. Now just to pick up, I think, firstly the question from Mr. Carpen. There were two or three things that the board actually agreed to discount as part of the process at that time. They agreed to discount from the City Deal scheme, the A1307 Heydon Motorways dualling as a proposition, but did agree that because of the safety implications, etc., on that route, that it was a vital piece of road to study, but it was just not possible to do it within the City Deal process. So the board did agree to do some additional work, some traffic surveys, and to fund some work in relation to that. And indeed, the County Council, City Deal, continue to work with colleagues in Suffolk, the Chambers of Commerce there, and there is a proposal in the list which is talked about to put extra funding into that process. So that was taken out of the City Deal list, but it was identified as a vital piece of infrastructure that needs to be studied and hopefully moved forward. The other thing that was taken out, the things were the Haver Hill to Cambridge Rail as a general proposition, and indeed similarly the Haver Hill to Cambridge busway. So picking up really the points from Mr. Carpen, I think there are two or three key elements there. One, I think you're sort of questioning why was it discounted, and then you're questioning why wasn't it looked at in a broader sense, and therefore could it be looked at again. And in simple terms, it was discounted because it was a very expensive scheme. The proposition from Heydon to Cambridge was about £390 million, as indicated at the time. The benefit cost ratio, the BCR, was relatively low, so it was under 1, which means for every pound you put in, less than a pound back. But I would say, and I will say in relation to some of the other points that have been raised, BCR is by no means the only thing on which you decide whether or not to invest, but it is part of a series of considerations. And at the time, what was recommended to the board and the board accepted was that the scale of the scheme and the likely benefits that would be returned were not ones that could justify continuing to investigate and therefore invest through the city. So that was removed for those reasons. So then picking up, I think, the other points from Mr. Carpen, I'm sure it's absolutely right that had that piece of work looked at a much broader study and actually looked at connecting that into the wider rail network, then actually the number of passengers forecast using would have gone up. But equally so with the cost economy. And so that wasn't actually looked at, but it's not a simple equation to say you can get more passengers with no extra cost. There would have been significant extra costs, and it was beyond, at the time, it was considered beyond the remit of the City Deal. So for that reason, it wasn't considered. It was discounted for the cost reasons, and I would say, particularly in relation to the question from Mr. Carpen, at this stage, given the level of funding available to City Deal, given the other priorities, and the likely outcome, I would suggest, I haven't done the calculations, but the likely outcome, bear in mind, cost would become higher, and we don't know where patronage would be. That would not be something I would recommend to the board to reopen at this stage. Mr. Carpen, you also referred to light rail, and in principle, light rail can be a cheaper option to heavy rail, but there are real capacity constraints in terms of sharing the light rail network with the heavy rail network in Cambridge. In certain areas of the country you can do it because utilisation of the track is much less. It's much more complicated here. And I think just another point generally to make for both light and heavy rail is that to Haverhill and indeed beyond, significant parts of the track then, the route have actually been removed, so there would be the need to completely acquire new sections of land. So I'm just simply saying to you, our recommendations officers to the board would not be, whilst we understand your points, would not be to take that any further. Okay, so they, as I say, were the things in the board report that were removed for the reasons I've expressed, but you know, I want to emphasise that 1307 is a particularly important route, and I think the board continues to support improvements there, but just is not able financially to deliver that. So then bringing us right up to the current day, what's happened since that board decision in March 2016? Well, there's been consultation on the illustrative concepts, and again I'll touch on that in just a moment. There's been stakeholder engagement around those concepts. The new traffic surveys that I referred to as part of the 1307 work, but also as part of the modelling work leading to the current recommendations, took place in the late summer, autumn last year, and there's been the development of broad options for the board to consider, which I suppose is what we're talking about today. So this was the, if you like, the plan that accompanied the discussions that took place in the summer of last year, and the results that came out of that, I don't want to dwell too much on the precise numbers, but essentially there were a series of questions that were being asked about the themes around cycling, pedestrian access, improved buses, for example. There was just a touch under 1,500 logged responses, and as I say, without going through the detail, but if you look at the top bar, so support for the concept of bus, cycle and walking improvements along the 1307 corridor. Well, I guess you could say it's a fairly easy question to say, yes, I support that, because it's a bit of motherhood and apple pie. But nonetheless, it's suggestive, because the number there is a touch under 90% of people said, yeah, they wanted better public transport, cycling and walking along the corridor. You can then look at some of the specifics around, for example, and I think this sort of starts to touch on the points from Mr. Heydon and Mr. Chisholm around off-road or on-road cycleways, that there was support for the principle of that, but more support for off-road and therefore segregated. So I think if you look at that, the dark green, the light green shows the areas of strong support and support. So for each of the elements, there were a lot of people, the majority of people were saying, yes, we think that the ideas you're putting forward or the concepts are good. In terms of bus proposals, I guess slightly less definite results, but if you look down the list again, sort of generally more than 50% of people supporting the individual sorts of elements we were talking about, and again these were just concepts at the time. If you actually compare, say, the greens, which are the people who said strongly or just support, with the reds and the oranges, there's a lot more people saying they support or strongly support than people saying they don't or strongly don't support. So from that, we took that there was, as I say, general support for the principles of the package that we were putting forward, which was better bus services, improved cycle provision, improved pedestrian provision, and there was a specific reference in there to the park and ride as well. So, as I say, we've used the output from all of that and the stakeholder consultations and discussions to bring us to the current day. There's just a few things that I wanted to say, because I know there are understandable concerns around, if you like, some of the processes we've used and wanting to actually get into some of the detail about what we've been doing and how the consultant has been modelling. So I just wanted to touch for a moment on how we've undertaken that modelling and the assumptions that we've used. So the first thing to say is when we briefed our consultants after that consultation, we obviously wanted them to build their thinking upon what the public and the stakeholders have told us. They've done an awful lot of modelling, and I don't want to get technical here, but we've got a model called the Cambridge Sub-Regional Model version 1. It's a model that's been updated. It is a little bit old now, and we're just about to launch the Sub-Regional Model 2, but given the time we had available, we had to use the existing model, and I'll come on to why that's significant in a moment. But what I can say is that because it was vitally important we tried to get that model to operate as effectively to replicate what is planned to happen in the area as we possibly could. So what I can say to you is that the model includes all of the Cambridge City and South Cambs planned housing growth up to 2031. So that's in the current emerging local plan. So it has all of that detail in it in terms of numbers of houses. It contains all of the same detail for East Cambs and Huntingdonshire local plans, a bit further afield of course, but nonetheless some of that traffic and people that feed into the corridor. It includes all of the local plan development expected in Heydon up until 2031. It contains all of the expected Cambridge Biomedical campus growth, again over a similar period, but because that's a very, very rapidly moving picture, just to be absolutely clear with you, the model assumes up to 23,000 jobs at the Biomed campus. I think there's currently about 16 to 16,500 now, so it assumes a growth up to 23,000. Now I know there are discussions, and depending on other things that may happen, about the numbers of jobs going even higher than that, but at the moment there is no established planning permission or position that actually pushes it beyond that level. I've talked there largely about housing, but the model also includes other assumptions up to 2031 around employment locations. And then, again, without getting too technical about the modelling, there's a much, much wider area than just Cambridge City, South Cambs, Huntingdon, East Cambs and Haverhill. And so what the model then does is builds in, based upon government growth forecasts, an assumption about overall growth, effectively over the whole of the country. Now, I think that is an area that it would be easy to say actually growth a little bit further afield than Cambridge City and South Cambs is going to be higher for certain reasons than the government has forecasted in its modelling. That may or may not be the case, but actually as you get further afield, then the actual impact on the corridor that we're looking at here becomes very, very, very much more diluted. So I think we are, and the modellers, and I've quizzed the modellers about this, confident that what they have is a fair replication of expected development and changes up to 2031. So out of that process, has come a series of proposals which actually form the recommendations before you. I'm going to have to scoot away from this map to actually split it up into 6 sections, but I can return to the map if you want me to as I go through those. But essentially, in the paper before you, there are 6 distinct sections of this route that have been identified for improvements, and that map summarises them. The first section is Haverhill to Linton, and what's being proposed here are a series of road safety enhancements along that sort of southerly or the end of the route. And the sorts of things we're looking at here are speed reduction measures and interactive signs, countdown marks, a variety of things that can improve road safety. Okay, so that's the first section. Linton Village, a series of specific proposals within the village around signalised junctions, proposal for a westbound bus lane in Linton, and measures to improve bus journey times through the high street. So these are still sort of relatively broad concepts at this stage. So moving further towards Cambridge, Linton to Grant Park and Baberham Village, new and improved cycleways between Baberham and Great Abington and Grant Park. So a series of, we're starting to get into the larger bits of the infrastructure that's proposed. And I think at this point I'll probably come on to Robin Heydon's question. So a very, very good question about standards for cycling, and I absolutely agree with the points you make about needing to provide high quality cycle facilities. You asked specifically the question for the standards we're using, and I have to say I didn't know off the top of my head, but I asked the guys who've been working on it, and they tell me that the design standards are TA, that's Transport Advice Note, 9105 and 9005, and then for the sections towards the city, they have had regard to the Sustrans and the CamCycle guidance. What I would say, though, is that I fully understand and accept the principles of the points you're making, and I think we've got a really long history of working with cycling campaign, CamCycle, and people like yourselves to actually get experience on the ground. So whilst we can look at general transport advice notes from the government, I think there would be great benefit in working closely with CamCycle and others to do whatever we possibly can. Sometimes it's not possible to do it we would like, but to really develop with our consultants and a range of stakeholders yourselves where we can make changes over and above those guidance notes. So I mean, I would like to say we would want to, if you like, take up what I think was a sort of offer from you to try and to work with us and help us to get these things as good as possible for cyclists. There are specific proposals in your question. You have a point about the A11. There are specific proposals for getting across the A11. It's a Highways Agency road and bridge, and so the team is working close. Sorry, Highways England are working closely with Highways England around that, and I think we're having positive discussions. But again, if we can use yourselves and others to assist in design standards, that would be, I think, from our point of view, really helpful. So hopefully that gives you confidence that we really take important points you're raising, and if we can amend what are currently concepts into more detailed schemes along acceptable lines, then that would be great. Okay, Chairman. Say, do you have a question? Is that right, Chairman? Mr. Heydon.
My concern is that at the moment, for example, you haven't got quite onto it, but one of the routes is designed as a 10-metre wide corridor with 2.4 metre cycle, 7.3 for the bus. That obviously has a land take of 10 metres wide over the whatever length. If, however, a reasonable design was, say, 15 metres wide, then that is a 50% increase in cost for that land take. And my concern is, if you're using those consultants' designs to do the costing now, and then we come along and say, actually, that's not going to provide good cycling, I would sooner see the good width now, so that we can actually build something that's good, rather than have a width that is a compromise for everybody. And that really is the concern from a financial point of view, which I hope you guys understand.
Chairman, I understand that. I mean, I have to be honest with you, that at the end of the day, there is always a balance between the amount of money available and the facilities that provide. There's always a balance between the space you provide to pedestrians, cyclists, bus users, and indeed car drivers. So I think, what I'd like to say is, we would want to have, because we're not at the final scheme design by any means here, we're at concept stage. I would like to have, or for the team to have that debate and to work out how the balance is. And it may end up that what we have to finally recommend to the board is a compromise that may not entirely meet the aspirations, but I wouldn't say at this stage anything can be ruled out, because we need to look at what the options are. And sometimes actually, depending on the nature of the land, additional land to be acquired isn't always that expensive, and the infrastructure on top of it may be a bit more. But I think there is still a big debate to have there. So I think if you can trust us to work with you and see what we can do to compromise, then we would very much like to do that.